Hey everybody, welcome to the live show. I'm Debbie Levitt and I'm from Delta CX. You can check us out at deltacx.com and I am here to answer your questions for the next hour. You can ask all the questions you like. You can send them through. There's a link on deltacx.com/links, or you can type them into the channel if you don't mind me possibly yelling your name out, like, hi, Ana Lucia, good to see you. As always, we want to thank everybody who's been joining our Patreon. Wow, what a great response we've been getting in just, our first month or so of running the Patreon. We have, I think, 80 members, and thanks to all of our paid members. So paying is optional. We do have the free tier at Patreon, which I'm going to treat like a mailing list. So you forget my old mailing list. And of course, if you are a paid patron, you get lots more perks and early access and some cool stuff like a patron-only AMA like this, except it won't be live on YouTube. It will be private and added to YouTube later in case you want to watch what happens. Hi, Mike. So we don't have any questions that came in ahead of time. You can send in questions ahead of time. Again, you can send them through deltacx.com/links. If you are a patron at the mid-level or higher in our CXCC Discord, which is free to join, but you can only participate if it's read-only if you're not a paid patron. If you're mid-level or higher, you should see a channel with a big red question mark that says Q for AMA, and you can also post anonymously there too. Yes, I found a bot that will turn posts into anonymous things. So having all of the fun, really upgrading our community with a lot of cool new things. I do have a fan on. Let me know if that's bothering you. And I do know my cursor is floating around. And we do have our countdown timer running to remind us that at most this is an hour-long show. Yes, so while we wait for some stuff to come in, let me remind y'all also about cxcc.to/events. It's our new event calendar. You can add the whole calendar to your calendar, or you can RSVP for individual events and be notified and reminded when they are coming up. We've got lots of, nearly everything in our calendar is completely free. There's a couple of things that aren't, but most things are. Tomorrow is our, hi Chantel. Tomorrow is our product management discussion with the always awesome Steve Johnson, whose name might be familiar. Yeah, sorry, I've got a blue screen now, so this is blue screened. Who you might remember from chapter 21 in my Customers Know You Suck book. He will be our guest tomorrow. That's not live on YouTube. That's you'll want to go to the events, and we're holding these in Google Meet. We record the webinars, we give them to our paid patrons nearly immediately, and then 2 weeks later they go up on YouTube. So for just $1 a month on Patreon, you can get stuff right away. Let's see what else is coming up. We also have September 6th. So as part of our free Wednesday webinar series, you say that, we are doing September 6th will be how metrics influence product strategy. Hi, Manisha. And I'll be talking about good and bad metrics that we can look out for on our teams, both business metrics and customer experience related metrics. So again, totally free to join. Check out our webinars, cxcc.to events. We're then going to take off the week after that since I'm speaking at UXCon Austria. So there won't be a webinar on the 13th. And hey, everybody, send in a question if you have one. I'm not seeing any come in yet. So I'm just going to tell you what's coming up until I see a question. And then we'll be back in Wednesday webinar land on Wednesday, September 20th, where I'm going to be talking about how to make design sprints better. Now, I personally don't use design sprints, but I get a lot of questions from people who say, our company does use design sprints, and how can we make them better? So I'll be giving you those answers to the questions I normally get. Again, that's another free webinar. By the way, your Starleak seems to be working great. Yeah, thank you for noticing, Ana Lucia. It is true. Actually, it's been a little wonky the last day or so because we've had storms, but we luckily live on a piece of land, and so we do have a pretty unobstructed view of the sky. We're not in a city. Hi, Malika. Yeah, the Starlink has been working well. We are canceling some of our other internet services, which will end up making the Starlink pay for itself. So, yes, we kind of wanted to hate it because we aren't a fan of what the satellites mean for the environment, and we're certainly not Elon Musk fans. But unfortunately, it's amazing. So, where's my hashtag? Not sponsored. We're paying Starlink. They're not paying me to say that. We wanted to hate it, and we don't. So yeah, there have been a couple of blips, but they definitely seem to be less severe and shorter. So while I wait for questions, and let's just take a quick look at my email to see, okay, good, a question has come in. Let me grab an anonymous question which comes into my email. How much is Starlink, says Catherine. Hi, Abhishek. So at least in Europe where I am, I can't speak for anybody else, the Starlink equipment, which is their Roam version, Chantel will make your question second, it was about 350 euros for the equipment, maybe close to 400 with shipping and everything. And then if you're roaming, like if you're in a camper, the service is 100 euros a month. And if you're staying in one place, you can switch to a I'm in one place service, which is 50 a month. Hi, Shweta. Hi, Mohammed. Okay, so let's get Chantel's question on the list, but we're going to do the anonymous one that came into my email first. And is there something in Discord I should be seeing? No. Okay, so let's grab the anonymous one. Okay. Super questions. All right. Here we go. Hello. Okay. Sorry, one woman show, much copy and pasting required. Let's paste this question and we'll get it on the screen and we'll talk about it. And, you know, you're welcome to answer questions too. You can always throw in your opinion when you see a question on the screen. So, anonymous question says, hello friends, I was thinking about something and wanted to get your opinion on it. Do you feel like social media only shows us content that confirms what we already believe? I've been wondering if this contributes to our confirmation bias and makes it harder for us to consider other viewpoints. What do you think? I think it really depends on how open you are to other viewpoints. For example, I like to think of myself as a, let's say it together, hold on, high empathy person. I'm definitely more of a liberal person. I would not want to see social media posts or videos or articles from people who might be extremely conservative or far right or neo-Nazi. Those are some points of view I just don't want to consider. You can say I have confirmation bias, you can tell me I'm in an echo chamber, but I don't have to hear what neo-Nazis want to say to know that I don't want to hear what neo-Nazis have to say. So I think it really depends on what types of information we are looking for. And I think there are certainly times where social media wants to feed us more of what we're interested in, whatever that might be, because then we're more likely to engage. Most of these platforms work with advertising. So the longer they keep you there, the longer that they might show you ads and make that advertising money. So it's a clear business model, and it's in their best interest to show you things that you're interested in. I do notice that YouTube, for example, will try to show me something that is quite opposite to what I believe, and I think their algorithm is just kind of testing the waters, like, Debbie watched something about this. I wonder if she would watch this. And sometimes it's far right or, you know, kind of out there, in my opinion. Sometimes it's a kind of an offshoot of something else I've watched, and they're just curious if I'll go there or not. And Shweta says, I can certainly see how recommendation algorithms can repeat opinions or what's most trending. Use critical thinking. Yeah, I mean, it really depends what you're open to. If you're curious about design thinking, you might watch videos for it, and you might watch videos against it. I think that's fair. If you feel a certain way about something political, you might watch videos from both sides or multiple sides of the issue, or you might only want to hear people that tend to agree with your side. It's hard for me to say that the echo chamber is always bad, because I know that there are times in my life where I'm very happy to be in one. Ana Lucia says, personally, I'm okay with different viewpoints as long as the other person respects my point of view too. I don't agree with everything that people I follow on LinkedIn post, but I still like to follow them. And Noor, thank you for your question. You'll be third today. We're still answering our first question. So I think that when it comes to confirmation bias, I tend to be a little bit more nervous about the desk research people are doing. I'm less nervous about social media, because if Instagram knows I like dogs, they're going to show me more dogs. If they have some sense that I was eating keto, they're going to show me more diet stuff. I get that. That makes sense. Ryan George has a funny video about the social media algorithm and how it tries to sneak you into alt-right and conservative stuff and radicalize you. Funny, not funny. But ultimately, I think there's times where I don't mind my own confirmation bias, because I feel a certain way about, oh, thank you so much for the subscription. Yes, please subscribe here, CX-CC on YouTube. Thank you so much. So I'm happy with my political views. I'm happy with my religious views. I'm happy with certain of my views on life. I kind of don't want to see other stuff. And again, is that confirmation bias? Maybe. But I think we have to be really careful of it when we are in our jobs and we are doing research, or when we are watching social media related to our work, our jobs, our industry. That's where we want to use our critical thinking. Let's pull out the hat we haven't seen in a while. Don't forget the critical thinking hat, y'all. Put on your critical thinking hat. Don't take it off. You're going to need it. So that's a good time. But I think if it's for your personal stuff or entertainment, I think you're allowed to be in your echo chamber, whatever that is, just for your own mental health. Because I find that watching stuff that heavily disagrees with what I believe, or thinks that what I believe doesn't exist, I find that doesn't add to my day in a positive way. Okay, let's go with, that was a super anonymous question. Thank you for that. We've got Chantel's question. Let's put that up. Chantel says, I have an upcoming meeting with senior management around accessibility and implementing a checklist for the whole business. What things should I ask? What should you ask versus what should you tell them? I guess the question is, if it's what should I ask, then I would start with, what are our if you don't know, what are our policies around accessibility? What are our policies or values around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging? And because that way, if you can get a core understanding of what the company values are around that, then every other conversation you have would be matched up with the values. If they say, yes, our core value is diversity, equity, and inclusion, then every time an accessibility issue comes up, you say, and our company values tell us we need to work on this, or we need to prioritize this, or this isn't a feature we ask people to upvote. We just make this accessible. So I'd probably start with, what are our core policies or values around it? Is that the kind of thing you're looking for, Chantel? Let me know if I'm on the right track with that answer. And let me just see what else is coming in. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, let me know if I'm on the right track. I know we're delayed 20 to 40 seconds, but hopefully this is what you mean. And then, of course, my next set of questions would be, how will we take action? Are we creating an accessibility team or department? Are we hiring people with different disabilities or accessibility needs or conditions to be a part of shaping our products and services, testing them? Yeah, can we go beyond a checklist? Love it, Drew. Always happy to see you, Drew. Thanks for coming. Absolutely. I think that we need to go beyond a checklist. At the very least, I would like to see at least one full-time, a person dedicated to gender neutraling this in the company. Yes, that's a good starting point. The issue is everyone is new in the business and hasn't looked at it before. Yeah, I would say if you get the chance to speak, make sure you give them some statistics to drive home the importance of accessibility, because very often people don't always care about accessibility until they see how it affects them. That, of course, is not empathy. That is sympathy at best, but we'll take it. So is there someone in the room wearing glasses? That person has a visual disability. That glasses help, but still, that is a visual issue. Has anyone in the room ever broken an arm and had it in a cast and couldn't use it? Has anybody ever... Gosh, I remember when I stepped on one of my dog's bones and it sliced open my foot and I couldn't do things for weeks. Everybody is going to remember that they have a permanent or have had a temporary disability diagnosis or condition. And so you might have to bring it home and you might have to say, has anybody here had an eye surgery? Does anybody here... You don't have to raise your hand, but is anybody here colorblind? Is anybody here neurodivergent? Is anybody here autistic? Again, you don't have to raise your hand and say me, but these are the people we're creating and designing for, because they're all of us. They're our customers, they're us, it's everybody. It's not some weird, tiny, fringe edge case group that we don't have to worry about. It's everybody. Anybody here have diabetes? Anybody here ever had cancer? Anybody here had COVID? It's everybody. Ana Lucia says, ask them about their guesses and assumptions about disabilities. There's a lot of bad assumptions. Right. We talked about that in chapter, I think it was 13 in my book, where Sherry Byrne-Haber talked about how a lot of people will just assume that if someone has a disability, they'll find someone to help them. But if every company treated us that way, that means someone with a disability might need help hundreds of times a day. That's unrealistic. Plus, people want to be independent. So talk about how this is about catering to our audience, empowering our audience, our target audience to do whatever it is. So checklist, probably not, but definitely start that conversation and see if they will, has anybody benefited from assistive tech? That was a question that they asked when I took the WebAIM training some years ago, and nobody raised their hand, and then they said, who's wearing glasses? And then it was like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. I have a whole ergonomic setup that a lot of you can't see. I'm supposed to wear glasses and I don't, so I'm looking at I'm sitting 2 feet away from a 50-inch television with everything set to magnify. I use accessibility features on my phone because I don't like to wear my glasses, and sometimes my glasses don't help because of my particular wacky vision issues. So these are all things, you can ask someone, have you ever set your operating system to larger than 100%. This is all assistive stuff that we have to design for. I remember getting Acture many years ago, and they had not designed it for screens, someone who had set the display to more than 100%, and stuff just ran off the page and you couldn't even click on stuff. What can I say? Mike says, I just had carpal tunnel surgery on the first hand. Ooh, good luck. Doing a lot of things with one hand is extremely challenging. Why did they give me child-proof medication bottles knowing I have one functional hand? Oh, Oh, so true. So true. Yeah. Ana Lucia says, I have colleagues that used vertical mouses and they loved it. Yep. My husband uses a vertical mouse. Since 1994, I have been using trackpads. I found that when I used a mouse at the end of the day, I had what I called the claw. So I've been using that. I also use a couple of special keyboards. I'm not sure if I'll be able to hold them all up. This one's dirty. Sorry about that. I mostly type on this one, which is a Gold Touch, hashtag not sponsored. And then I also have, I'm going to have to unplug this to show it to you because it's tightly connected. I also have an ErgoDox EZ. This is half of it. So it's completely in two halves. I don't use it as much as I'd like to because it does take a lot of getting used to, and I just haven't forced myself to use it. So I only use it sometimes. But I get a little bit rattled when I can't type as fast as I can think. But I should probably get used to that. Good points. Thanks, everyone. Great. So let's move to our next question. And good luck, Chantel. We've got a next question. All right, here we go. And this was from Noor. Let's see. Okay. What are your thoughts on proposing the development of this topic? Which topic is this topic? Accessibility or something else? For a master's or PhD research, it involves creating and validating UX research methods that are tailored to address business requirements. Okay, I admit it, I'm lost. I don't know what you mean. I'm also not an expert on master's or PhD research. The master's degree I did not require a thesis, and I have not done a PhD. So first of all, I'm not an expert on academic research or your theses or dissertations. But I'm definitely going to need more information to make any attempt at answering this because I don't get the question. This is great. Sorry, I am checking how Larry Marine's new book is doing because it is secretly out and it is having a good day. So if you have not bought Larry Marine's book, we'll be officially announcing it later today, but you can find it at deltacx.link/DR, lowercase, for disruptive research. That's the name of the book, with another beautiful cover by Malika Fraser. All right, back to here. We haven't heard from this person. Oh, here comes another anonymous question. Noor, if you're not going to give us more information, I might move on. Oh, no, same question came in twice. I don't know why my system does that sometimes. So if anybody wants to ask a question, you can send it anonymously or a long question at deltacx.com/links. You can also send it here in the chat. Just remember your name will come up on the screen. And if you are a mid-level or higher patron, you can go to the special Q for AMA channel in our Discord and get priority service. Also, we do have a way to ask questions anonymously there, so I won't be shouting out your name. So what are your thoughts on proposing of the development of this topic? I think I'm not going to be able to answer this one, especially if we don't get more information. So I'm going to take that one down for now and wait to see what else pops up. And let's see. Emojis up, everybody. Who has bought Larry's book? I have to wait 40 seconds because you're all delayed. But yeah, I'm looking at it's doing nicely. It's number 12 today. I'm wondering how it's doing. Let's see. Were there emojis? I might have missed them. No. Nobody's bought Larry's book yet? Come on, disruptive research. Yeah, so otherwise I'm here and ready to answer questions. I can't answer Noor's question without, more details. So we have to press pause on that. Let's see. But yeah, Kindle is doing well today. Let's see how the paperback is doing. Not as well. You all are buying Kindles, which is also good. I too bought the Kindle version. Let's see, where can I find? I'll have to look at this later. Hi, Ilaria. Ilaria did buy it today. I saw that come into my email. Thank you so much for your purchase. Ana Lucia says, I'm considering buying it. It's the end of the month. Not a good time. Maybe in a few weeks. Totally understandable. We've got the Kindle for $9.99. We've got the EPUB and PDF combo for $14.99, and then the print books are much more expensive because they are even the paperback is full color. So because the color really matters in this book, I've got a test copy, and you can see. Hold on, there we go. We need color. There's lots of pictures of sticky notes in here, so. All the books are full color. Okay, we have something coming in anonymously. Let's take a looky look. All right. Let's jump on this anonymous question, and we'll have to check back with Noor if we get more details there. And Sharon has a question too. Sharon will make that question after this one. And Chantel, you'll be after that. Hold on, let me copy and paste all of these in order. Thank you for the flood of beautiful, delicious questions. And, okay. All right, lots of great questions. Let's start with the one that came in anonymously, and it looks like this. Okay, so this question says, people often use phrases such as product sense or common sense when making some decisions. When is it appropriate to rely on intuition, and when should analytical thinking take precedence? I'm going to go you one better, and I'm going to say we wouldn't be using intuition or common sense, which is really just an opinion in many cases. We wouldn't be using these if we had better data and evidence and knowledge about our users and their, let's put it up on the big screen. Hold on. Here we go. There we go. People, context, systems. We wouldn't have to go, well, my gut says that people really want a save button over here. We wouldn't have to do that if we had... Oh, my Google Home is reminding me that my dogs need to go back in the pen. Thank you, Google Home. Be careful. When people are going, well, it's my gut feeling, or it's my intuition, or I've been doing this for a lot of years and I think, remember that these are opinions, guesses, and assumptions. So we should always be using analytical thinking. We should always be using critical thinking. But how about using some good knowledge about our users instead of making gut guesses about them, and common sense, which is not necessarily common and sometimes not even factual or correct. Check out our episode, was it 196, where we taught the discovery phase knowledge quadrant, which is an exercise we can run to see what people assume or guess or think they know, and how we can use research to replace those with evidence and knowledge. So again, analytical thinking always, critical thinking always. But we wouldn't have to fight over opinions or personal preferences or gut feelings if we had good data about people. If you knew exactly what I wanted for the next holiday, which I guess in America is Labor Day, if you were buying me a Labor Day present, which you shouldn't because I hate getting presents, if you were buying me a Labor Day present and you knew me really well, or you asked me, you'd know what to get me. If you don't know me very well, you will guess, and you'll probably be wrong because I hate getting presents and I hate lots of things. And so we end up guessing stuff. So that would be that, yeah, if common sense was common, everyone would have it, and they surely don't. And also, one person's common sense is someone else's, no, I see this differently. So remember that common sense is sometimes just a way for someone to say, this is my opinion, or this is what I prefer. So we have to make sure we're bringing this back to the users. All right, we got some great questions coming in anonymously. We always pick up a little steam in the middle of the show. So hopefully that helps. And basically, I would say don't rely on intuition. Anything that you're doing based on intuition is risk for the company, because if you're wrong, you could build the wrong thing, you could make a bad decision. Document all of that as risk. Get it in your risk register. I love risk registers. Do you like functional presents? Uh-oh, here we go. I actually hate presents, so I'm just going to go with no for everything. Hi, Olivia the dog. Okay, we have a new question. I'm not too sure I didn't pronounce your name. Is it Marina? I know we've been chatting in our Slack community today. Thank you for all of that. Okay, this was our next question that came in, and this is from Sharon. Sharon on LinkedIn asked, what are your thoughts on the best ways company can organize the best data and least bias across all research? Yeah, so the best data, in my opinion, is usually qualitative. A lot of times a company will start out with quantitative data, especially if they've been doing market or marketing research, or if product managers have been running surveys. We'll have a lot of quant data. We'll have survey results, or maybe we'll have some notes from a focus group. But my question would be, is that enough for us to act on? Do we know why? Do we know root causes? Have we written problem statements that focus on things from users and customers' perspective? If we haven't, then we're going to need to do the qual research that answers all of those questions. So then how do we organize it? Some people are using research repositories where you can add the research that you've done. Hi, Rima. Rima, how's the new job? Where you can put stuff into a research repository, and that way it's searchable later, hopefully by different tags and keywords, so that people who are interested in finding research on a certain topic or a certain product area or a certain audience would be able to find this. But that means that whoever put that research into the system has to get a lot of good keywords or metadata in there so that it is easily searchable. So I would say people are probably turning to research repositories. That might be that's tool agnostic. You can use whatever you want. I've seen things in Excel, Airtable, Enjoy HQ, Dovetail, Confluence. At that point, the tool doesn't matter as long as the tool is accessible by everybody, so people can get to it. They're not locked out. And as long as you've put in a lot of great keywords and metadata so that people can easily find studies, make sure you're cross-referencing studies like, hey, we started with this survey, but we realized we didn't know why, so we did these 20 interviews. So they are, linked together, so someone who stumbles on one can find the other. Awesome. Good. I'm happy the new job's starting out well. I hope that helps. Sharon, let me know if you have a follow-up question or if I didn't kind of go in the right direction with that. And Mike has a quick follow-up question, which we'll throw in. regarding, and Johnny has a question, which we'll have to put at the end. Regarding qualitative, is there a general number of users to stop collecting data at? The general rule or best practice for generative research is 8 to 12, but I find that usually doesn't include people with disabilities, diagnoses, or conditions, so you might want to stretch that to more. Sometimes people say, hey, once you talk to 6, 8, 10 people, you're hearing the same thing over and over again. Maybe you picked too homogenous a group. So make sure you are getting a really good mix of people and people with disabilities, diagnoses, and conditions. But I think that it's not so much that I stop collecting data at a certain number. It's more that I plan ahead of time, how many do I need? At my new job, there are 2 studies that I'm planning, one evaluative and one generative. For the evaluative, I'm planning to use 40 people because of the many buckets or personas that we have. And for my generative, I'm currently looking at 225 because of the number of target audiences and sub buckets we have there. Might I hear the same thing 225 times? Maybe, but unlikely. And if I do, then at least it would be confirmation that a large part of our audience thinks the same, does tasks similarly, behaves similarly. When we don't know that. Let me throw that on my list so that we have that follow-up question in the YouTube description. So the YouTube description always has all of our questions. All right. Thank you for the letter Q from Chantel, who has a new question. Oh, I just hit the wrong button. Alrighty, Chantel says, how would you prioritize developer bugs and fixes for a digital product versus improving CX? I have recently had this conversation with somebody, and my answer was, why aren't we doing both? Both are important, especially if we knowingly released something we knew wasn't great, and we said, everybody say it with me, we'll fix it later. Yeah, I don't have a graphic for that. So especially where we said we'll fix it later, which was essentially our promise to our users and customers, we have to fix it later. And especially where customer support time is being burned, or people are writing angry tweets, or they're starting to leave or downgrade, it is important to fix old stuff. I've had this conversation with lots of companies that I've worked with, and I've said, hey, we're getting some really bad app ratings in the last month or 2, and I've confirmed that these are real problems, not just people complaining. When are we going to fix these things? And I was told, we don't have to fix these things. Our general app rating average is high, and we're not sure that fixing these things will make us more money. And I say, boo-hoo-hoo, that is absolutely sad and unacceptable and definitely not customer focused. We absolutely should remain customer focused and realize that fixing crap we broke is part of making good product. It should be part of product strategy. And if your designer is too busy to work on new things and work on fixes, get another designer. I'm all for having 2 designers on a project. If you've seen some of my slides or read my book, you know this. So don't be afraid of putting more designers on a project. Don't be afraid of creating an agile or scrum team that is all about fixes and improvements. Maybe some engineers are working on the new stuff and some engineers are fixing the old stuff. But keeping around broken stuff because we think it's not a priority might make us feel really fast now, but it just means that's what we call debt. If you've ever heard someone say technical debt or UX debt, this is something we owe our customers and users because we took it from them. We gave them something that was broken. Either it was technically poor because it was slow or buggy or didn't work, or it was UX debt where there's something about the experience that is incomplete, poor, confusing, things like that. So it's debt we owe people. Let's see. Oh, Abhishek has a new question. Let's add that to the bottom. And Tango, Catherine says, business as usual for bug fixes. Yeah, I mean, bug fixes should be a priority if we care about customer and user experiences. If we don't care, then sure, make bugs, don't fix them. Pile up your debt. But I don't recommend that. Alrighty. We got a long question in anonymously, so here comes a story. Everybody get the popcorn. We've been given a bad app to fix, so it's tech and UX debt. Yeah, these are the questions. And what's the risk of not doing it? Usually you have to explain to people, what's the benefit of doing this? What's the risk of not doing this? So, risk documentation. Okay, we got a story. Is this normal? This coworker of mine that I worked with on a previous project endorsed me for a UX designer role with a company he used to work for. I got in touch with the CEO of the company and he said to look for a senior level designer and we can later fit in an entry level designer role. Me and the senior level designer have been waiting 3 to 4 months. We will get the role. Even the CEO keeps telling me no new updates. Is this normal for a company to do? I've been looking at other stuff, but I find this to be very disrespectful that I've been waiting so long. It is definitely disrespectful, and I would think that a CEO would have access to a hiring plan or how hiring has been budgeted. So the CEO would be able to tell you, we wanted this role, but we haven't budgeted yet. Or we wanted this role, but our budgeting priorities changed. We're not going to be opening this. When a company keeps me waiting in a situation like this where I just started interviewing again because you can't go with the unknown. I remember when I was interviewing for Macy's.com back in 2016, I had my first interview and I really liked my lead. I was waiting for my second interview and I got an email from Google saying, wow, we just saw your LinkedIn. Why haven't you worked at Google yet? We want to talk to you. And I said, sure, let's schedule a call. And they didn't. And while I was waiting for Google to schedule a call with me, Macy's offered me the job. I took the job. And I wrote back to Google and I said, you didn't schedule a call with me. Macy's offered me the job, and I'm going to go with the job that exists rather than wait for the one that might not exist. They didn't even respond to that. So I think that whether or not this is normal is not important. What's important is how you react to it and how you take care of yourself. And you definitely can't put any eggs in this basket and assume that this job is going to happen. You're going to have to, as you said, continue applying, continue interviewing. And if something else comes through, take it. Take it. You can always go back to the CEO and say, I have an offer from another company. You've got a day to make me an offer. Otherwise, I'm going to take the other offer because it exists. It's real. It's a job I can have. Bug fixes depend on acceptance criteria in the user story. Some need to be fixed within a sprint. Yeah, the original definition of agility said that if we get feedback about something we've built, it must be fixed within one sprint. But a lot of people don't do that. But that would be agile. So good point, Catherine. All right, let's look at the next question. We probably don't have time for any more questions today, so if any other questions come in, I will have to put them for next Tuesday. Sorry about that, but I do have to end a little bit early today because I have back-to-back calls. So we got this one in from, I don't even remember, Marina, is that how you say your name? Researcher Designer Challenge. How to land a research job, especially for juniors when visual design experience is required in most job posts. If they are looking for visual design in a researcher job, you have to ask yourself if you want that. If you just want to be a researcher and you don't want to do visual design, don't apply for the job. I don't apply for jobs that ask for visual design. That's not my strength. I've even stopped applying for design jobs because all the jobs make it sound like you are going to be a Figma order taker and do whatever other people tell you to design. I don't want that. So if they're telling you need to do research and visual design, guess what? You're only going to have time to do one thing at a time, and they probably will want that to be visual design. This is probably a visual design job pretending to be a research job. You would have to ask during interviews to know that, but that would be my guess. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Anna Lucia says, one of the recommendations I've been seeing a lot about job offers is always assume it's not a certainty until you sign the paperwork, search for something else, keep interviewing. Yeah. I made the mistake many years ago, 2013. A very famous company interviewed me, said, we love you. You definitely have the job. We're going to get an offer to you. And I never heard from them again. And I stopped interviewing, and I even told a couple of companies, sorry, I have a job. And you know what? It wasn't, they never came back to me. Karina's asking a question, but I don't know if we'll have time for it. If we don't get to it, it'll have to be next week, because we're almost out of time. But yeah, how do you land a research job? It's very difficult. This is the hardest time to get into UX that I've ever seen in my life. I don't have a lot of good advice other than be picky. Apply for the things you think you can qualify for. Don't apply for things you think you don't want to do or qualify for. Oh, did I get Johnny's question on the list? Which one was Johnny's? I feel isolated. Is that on my list? No, that's not on my list. Sorry, Johnny. Let me get you on the list as the question after this. Sorry, they just came so fast. Yeah, if I ever miss anybody's question, it's not on purpose. And then we'll do what would your expectations be? And I'm working for a global ad agency. So those will be the last 3 questions today, and then we've got to run. If you add another question or if you've sent it anonymously, I'm going to have to do it next week. Okay, so let's take a look at this question. That one's already on the screen. Hold on. Let's look at the Johnny question since... Here we go. I feel isolated from UX work sometimes because a product manager would come up with the interaction method and give me requirements without user needs. Are there good methods to jump out the current situation? It really depends on if your company's open to change and how they see your job. If they see your job as what I call products designer, where a product designer is essentially products secretary, where a product manager says make this and the product designer is just products designer, then you probably can't change them. And the problem is once you say yes to those things because you think, well, how can I say no? I should do my job. Then the product manager learns they can do this. And so when a product manager doesn't see UX as a partner or as someone who can solve problems, you kind of end up a pair of hands. You can definitely talk to your manager about the situation and tell them, maybe do you still have a copy of your job description? Does your job description say that you will be solving problems and that you will be creating great things for users? Bring up your job description and say, this is what I signed on for. I wanted to do this, but I'm not able to do this. I have almost no insight into users, and it's just a product manager saying, lay this out. So I would try a manager, but you can also try to get another job. But unfortunately, a lot of design jobs are like this right now. We are in a definite negative, slumpy, bad period for UX where they think researchers need to be visual designers and they think designers need to just do what a product manager says. So it's hard. It's hard, and that's why I'd probably start with a manager. You can look at other jobs, but then you're going to have to be asking in interviews, as a designer, will I get to create solutions? Will I get to come up with the interaction method? Will I get to solve problems, or am I just doing what someone else tells me? It's tough. Not everybody is even comfortable asking that question, but we should, because then we end up in jobs where we're like, wow, why does this suck so bad? And we didn't really ask enough questions during interviews. Okay, I've got 5 minutes and I've got 2 questions, so we're going to try to get through them. Okay, next question. What would be your expectations from a new designer with experience of roughly 2 years working with enterprise clients in an enterprise environment with respect to skill set proficiency? What would you advise him to navigate his career path? Hard to say. But normally, when people are relatively new, I'm suggesting that they make sure they've studied some cognitive and behavioral psychology. I'm suggesting that they learn information architecture. These are important skills, I think. Some people have studied business-related stuff so that they can have more conversations with teammates that focus on what the business really wants, which of course is going to be money and customers. Of course, when you're in an enterprise environment, sometimes they don't care about that as much because the internal people are using the tool or other people are stuck using the tool. But you can still speak to efficiency. If we build something for an enterprise client and it makes people inefficient, someone won't be happy about that. So I would say maybe some business related stuff. You could even look at some product management related stuff. I think it's good to look at project management related stuff. Get better at estimating your time. And that will help people when you have a project and they say, hey, how long is that going to take you? You can go, last time I did something like this, I tracked my time and I realized it took me 4 days or 2 weeks. So, hey, here's my estimate. These are, I think, all things that you can get better at in addition to the general craft of things related to UX design. That's what I would say without knowing where you are hoping to go. All right. Then we have Karina's question, and then we've got a wrap up for today, but we're back every Tuesday. And we've got a special patron only one for mid-level patrons and higher. You can join our Patreon for free. It's also free will be our mailing list, so you will not have an algorithm between me and announcements. Whereas on LinkedIn, good luck seeing anything I post. Karina says, hi, thank you so much for your valuable information. Yes, thank you. I'm currently working for a global ad agency that is not UX or product focused. It's mostly creative. It seems like they don't understand what UX or CX designers do. Because of this, I lack a UX senior designer or lead on my team. I recently got promoted to mid-level, but I struggle with the lack of leadership or mentorship. What should I do? So my typical answer to questions like this is you would have to find a mentor or coach outside of your company. If they're not going to give you someone who you can turn to, ask questions to, review your work with, you have to find someone outside of that. I do that type of coaching. The first one is free, but then I do charge for coaching sessions after that. So I am an option. You can go to deltacx.link/coaching. You'll also find it on the links link up here, deltacx.com/links will lead you there as well. But I would say finding a mentor or a coach. I sign non-disclosure agreements with my coaching clients so that they might show me some of their secrets or things they're working on at their jobs. And sorry, my phone is ringing and I don't recognize the number. Ultimately you need to have that lead or mentor or coach from somewhere, and you might just have to find it outside. Doesn't have to be me. Turn to some of the people you like on LinkedIn. There might be some people you admire or follow, or a YouTuber or an author. Go to them and say, do you do any mentoring or coaching? Do you have a non-disclosure agreement so I can show you some of the things I'm working on at my job and get some help with them? And that's what I would recommend. And then tell your agency to work with me so we can bring more customer centricity in it. It can't just be pretty pictures. All right, I'm going to have to run because I do have another call right after this in a few minutes. But thanks to everybody for joining. And I hope to see everybody at tomorrow's live free webinar. It's not going to be here on YouTube. Go to cxcc.to/events. We're going to be talking about product management with Steve Johnson. And check out our other events as well. All right. Thanks again to everybody who joined. I'm going to flame us out of here, and I hope to see everybody again real soon.